Friends, recently our Deputy Army Chief, Lieutenant General Rahul Singh, has been speaking in the FICCI summit where he disclosed certain interesting facts about the latest army assessments and the army leadership's perception about the Indian armed forces and our enemy forces. He mentioned, it is the headline if you can call it, he mentioned about a phrase that is enemy used borrowed knife. This has been taken back, actually this has been referred from the 36 paradigms of Chinese doctrine of war. So this happens to be the second paradigm, that is fight the enemy with a borrowed knife. Now this is very interesting, it is a double-edged sword, because from the perspective of Pakistan, the borrowed knife is the military hardware and the sophisticated fighters and missile systems which they had acquired from China, and they had fought their enemy with a borrowed knife. But you look at the Chinese perspective, it is again makes sense because China has used Pakistan as a borrowed knife and tested all their equipments and their missile systems and their advanced form of surveillance and AI, including the satellite surveillance, everything they tested with their arch enemy in the area, that is India. Also, they could test their weaponry, the sophistication, can they beat the the Western weaponry, because India was using many of the aircrafts and missile systems which we purchased from NATO countries, including US, right? Also even including Israelis. Now, it's very interesting to understand now that Pakistan already has got 81% of their defense equipments, the military hardware, purchased from China. So naturally, as General Rahul Singh has rightly brought out, the whole concept of warfare for us also is changing, because earlier we used to talk about two fronts in an eventuality of a war. Right now he mentioned about one front, one border with three enemies merged together fighting us from one front. You all know who are these three enemies. China, of course, but proxy is Pakistan, and Turkey has recently joined hands openly. Clandestinely they were helping earlier, but now they've openly have come out, and I am sure as days progress you will find many other enemies emerging who will clandestinely or indirectly join the other force, especially the Muslim world with all their money power. Definitely when the chips are down, they are going to stand with Pakistan and definitely not with India. In this scenario, this is a change scenario, friends, and he also mentioned about C4 with ISR. Now, this is a military technological, parlance. So you would like to know what is this? C4 means command, control, communication and computers. That is C4. Now, ISR, what is ISR? Intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, which we call Recce. So he mentioned now the complete emphasis of the armed forces today should be on improving our C4 with ISR so that we are at par with the enemy, because it is generally now understood that the enemy is enforcing their C4 and ISR. And definitely, if you look at the scenario emerging out, we are still struggling to get a 5th generation stealth bomber, which is still in the anvil, and it is expected that it is to go for another 1 decade for us to really acquire with our full force. But we all should remember the Chinese technology, or the China is already procured a 6th generation stealth bomber. As you know, Americans are trying to sell their F-35s, but with the kind of F-35s, new, episode with the fiasco happened now that the British F-35 landed in Trivandrum in Kerala, and it is not being retrieved till today. They are not able to repair it. It's not giving a very good message out for the whole world to see that, because almost 3 weeks are now coming up and still they are not able to recover them and fly it again. Right. Now coming back to what General Rahul Singh has been mentioning, he said we were slowly climbing through an escalation ladder. What is the escalatory ladder? In the war, as you know, we initially targeted 9 of the terrorist centers. Then, of course, Pakistan retaliated with attacking our military targets. They started firing at our fighters also. Then we escalated it to include their airstrikes. But then the war has come to an end as abruptly as it could be. Now, it is very interesting to mention that in between, before the ceasefire itself, the director of military, DGMO of Pakistan, he has been mentioning to our DGMO that we already know what are you doing there. We can have a live understanding or the live situation of your armed forces, how it is getting ready, the vectors, where all are your vectors moving. Incidentally, vector means any flying object which moves and which can be caught in the surveillance. It's called vectors. So every vector, what has been prepared, even including missiles, everything is under their surveillance, which is a very clear indication given to us that China has been very actively monitoring, surveillance also, and they are all been with their AI and with their satellite surveillance capability. They have been closely monitoring our war situations and everything what is happening in the war front. So this is a very real thing happening, friends. So we have to cope up with the kind of scenario which is building upon. Now, it is also interesting to note today that the war concept of PLA, People's Liberation Army, is also going through a sea change. Incidentally, in April 24, just last year only, they have inducted 2 arms. In fact, their strategic support force has been reconstructed as 2 arms, which is aerospace forces and cyberspace forces, which means they are moving into the next realm of warfare and they are giving a lot of importance to fighting the war in a virtual world and in the space and in the cyber world more than really on the ground. And these 2 arms are getting sophisticated day by day as we speak now, and they both report to their Central Military Commission, that is the Central Command. So, friends, Pakistan is planning to fight with China, as you are all aware, and China is giving them the complete surveillance support, complete intelligence support, which is a very uneasy situation emerging for us. In fact, PLA is planning to fight in 5 battle spaces. And what are those 5 battle spaces? Land, air, sea, everybody knows the 3 are Trinity, we all are aware of. But they are now going to fight in the space also in the cyber world, that is in the virtual space. That is the 5 battle space which they are going to monitor and strengthen themselves. In this scenario, we have to prepare ourselves. that is General Rahul Singh has been hinting also, and it's a matter of concern, and whatever defense procurement we are going to have in the coming days, it has to commensurate with this new doctrine of war and the concept of building up our air defense as well as air force and moving our battle capability to the space. So this is very interesting to understand. Jai Hind.